Had to come back and do part two because the audio cut out when I was recording part one. Welcome back again. This is Mr. Fox, the I Refuse podcast. What I was, the point I was starting to make in the first part of the video was that I really hope that the Carlee situation that happened down in Alabama actually turned out to be what was reported at first. It's definitely a cautionary tale that we should probably mind our business a little bit more. Like I said earlier, there are people out here that are very, very sick, especially men. They continue to show us every year that they ain't shit. That men can not only not handle rejection to the point that it leads to violence and death, but also that men just can't seem to work on improving their game when it comes to trying to get with women. Like, I feel like, with consideration that this may actually be true, that this light skinned guy, this guy that was out there with that baby, has some kind of sick perversion and was using a child to lure women. Dangerous as hell. And I feel like for him to this mystery person to return Carlee to her parents' house unscathed. I deduced two things from that. It's like something about that part, because you kidnap people and then you just return them without money and safe in one piece. I don't know. Like I said, hopefully this turns out the way that it did. Like, it turns out to be true. That it turns out that what actually happened is what actually was reported. Um, like, there are definitely, the reality still remains that there are definitely people out here that are, for the sheer boredom, out of sheer boredom, just want to just terrorize people and target people. I hope Carlee definitely gives full disclosure as to the baby. What did the baby look like? What did this guy look like? Where did they take you? What what car? Like, the interior of the car. Did you get a license plate? I hope it's not a situation where she, this guy and Carlee were in some kind of cahoots for some attention. I hope it's not some kind of weird TikTok, some weird TikTok trend. Like, every other day, it's like a different thing that people are doing for TikTok views. I really want, I really hope that it's actually a legitimate thing. We at the I Refuse podcast aren't afraid to even talk about that kind of stuff. Because the third or fourth season of this pandemic is anybody's guess. It can go in any kind of direction. When it comes to Carlee, um, you know, two things can be true. It could be very much true that this man is still somebody that just is weird with women, or has this weird thing with women. Could also be very true that it was something between the two of them. Um, and it could be very well true that the baby was used to lure to lure women. Cause here's the thing. I did watch the video. Well, the video they said claimed to be the video of that shows her being abducted or the course of the abduction. But I watched. I'm like, this camera's too far away. It's dark as hell outside. Does Alabama not believe in having like lights on the highway? Clearly, it was a camera that like the news channel uses to show us what traffic is looking like as they're reporting on rush hour traffic. It wasn't down on the shoulder. It looked like it was on an overpass a couple of miles back, and you can't see anything. So I don't know. Too early, really, to be making a definitive answer or to know what's true and what's not. But Mr. Fox, the I Refuse podcast, likes to entertain different theories. Like I said, the pandemic has really shown us to be very corny and just all around bored, but also exposing on a greater level how crazy men can be. Because I'm like, where was the baby on the highway? That's not that well lit in relation to where Carlee was in the car when she was driving. Because in the video, that car was driving down the shoulder for a long while. But they already had some identification information that the guy was light skinned. You know, at this point in life, I'm just saying, anybody that's listening or watching the podcast, like, in this life, I think we've all been conditioned to pray and hope for the best and experience the worst. It's great that you pray and that you have faith in you know, humanity and all that other stuff, but all of us don't go in the same direction. Like, the good news is that there are a lot of people in this world. The bad news is that there are a lot of people in this world. Like, I really hope that this wasn't a situation where Carlee was trying to get away from something, was like trying to get away from her life and escape with a guy. I hope this wasn't a situation where they were trying to do a social media trend and it wasn't that interesting and they just decided, let's just return her home. Hope it wasn't a situation where she was targeted and it was a setup and it was a trap. Cause here's the thing. Here's another thing I want to piggyback off an earlier point I'm making in this video. Just hear me out. People get kidnapped, right? People get kidnapped. There's usually more than one person. In a kidnapping, right, there usually isn't a return, much less a safe return. When a person's kidnapped, they're gone. Um, they're gone, never to come back. They are gone, and their captors are force them into a different identity and a different life, and they wear disguises and shit like that. It's very rare that a person is not only returned in one piece, but is returned in one piece to a specific house. Now, look, I like to believe that all the rapid response to her abduction or disappearance, that through her disappearance, the response has led to people that held her captive to be like, look, it's getting too hot, let's return her. I really hope it's not like, well, this was just a cover up for like some personal shit. Because that too could happen. Like, that wouldn't be too far off base. Like, anything is possible at this point. Um, I know it's pretty popular. It's good for humanity to think, be of the mindset and the spiritual shit to think, oh yeah, this actually was a legit abduction. Carlee didn't see it coming. But man, my spidey senses are going off. Like, completely dark. How could you see the baby, right? Um, and you were on that shoulder for a while. And they just return you on one piece to a specific house. Lord. Like, I've watched enough Forensic Files and First 48 and Nightline and Dateline and 2020, all them, where I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I know it's too early to say anything, to really confirm much of anything, but I'm on this mic talking like it's just you and me. And I felt compelled to share with y'all some just possibilities. Like, very real these days that men just can't cope with rejection, or after so many years of being inside, just develop or try to apply this sick attitude towards women to where they just come out one day, try to holler at a female, can't handle it. They start doing crazy shit in response. Or not in the moment, but later on, just decides, no, I'm going to use this baby or use a decoy to attract people and then go from there. Like, I know it probably feels good to y'all to think or be thankful that this girl is home, but I got this mic to say shit that you know that you're thinking. A lot of us at a big age did not fall off the turnip truck last night. So, hate it or love it, just saying, like, the shit that I've discussed so far is stuff that could very well be possible. Like, I know you're sitting there watching this from the comfort of your home. Like, yeah, something about this don't wrap all the way around. Like, it doesn't curl all the way around for me. I mean, I could be thankful that she's back in one piece because it very well could have been something different. But when you sit back and think about the details, you're like, hold on. Like, don't forget, we weren't we're not that far removed from the Mexican cartel thing that happened. Like I had questions about that too on the podcast when that came out a couple months ago. I Refuse podcast is on 8 streaming platforms. 4 seasons are available: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Overcast, iHeartRadio, Google. Link in the bio. Go to the Twitter at I Refuse Podcast. Go to the IG at I Refuse Podcast _ between the words. I went into great detail about the Mexican cartel situation because I'm like, why did you need, why drive from South Carolina all the way down to Mexico when you could have just flew? Yes, sorry to the men that lost their lives. Mexican cartel clearly has tighter morals and principles to their role, to what they are, than the police do in 2023. But, they got the news, they got the attention and everything, but not a single person asked why. Like, how did you end up there in the first place? And why were you going down there in the first place? Because most United States citizens that go to Mexico fly. Word on the curb was, old girl was going down there for a BBL. But I can say that and just talk in jest with y'all, throw the word allegedly. But Anderson Cooper didn't even ask him that. So just like I'm going to apply some critical thinking and logic and asking why, or something about this just is not curling all the way around for me, I'm pretty sure some stuff will come out. Just give people enough space. I hope Carlee is giving full disclosure down at the police department or in the hospital, wherever she is. So that's where I'm at with it. Men stealing shit. If it actually turned out to be true that man used a baby to abduct people and target women, that's fucked up. If it's actually true that Carlee was actually driving down the highway minding her business and saw this baby, good on her for trying to save a child. I personally, I'll be minding my business when I'm in my car driving somewhere, unless it's like a domestic situation. If it's a domestic situation, hopefully not in a moving car, then I would slow down and call the cops and stuff. If it's two crackheads arguing back and forth, I mind my business. If it's a parent and a child, clearly the child did something that warranted such a reaction, I mind my business. If it's people fighting in the median while I'm at the light, I'll mind my business. Personal situation does not require a third party. Clearly I'm on the road for a reason, and that's their business. Because here's the thing. I'm from Baltimore, in case you haven't noticed. I'm from Baltimore. Grew up there, lived there most of my life. Came back to Baltimore as an adult for a spell. And well aware of the different kinds of ways that people initiate a carjacking. They'll come to your car acting like they're distressed, they're with their kids and the car broke down, or their car is on fire, or they need a jump, or they'll pretend it'll be a two-person situation where a person will be in the middle of the street trying to act like they're blind and they can't see. Anything to play on your ethics and your morality. A lot of us were raised to help out people that are less fortunate than us. And people will dress themselves up to be that part. And then here you come in your car, minding your business. Oh, let me help this person across the street. Then bam, your car gone. Like, you got to remember, y'all, that we're still in the society that tried to make Balloon Boy a thing. That wasn't real. We were captivated for weeks on end as this little silver balloon went up in the air. And the news people are trying to convince us that the boy's parents told them that the boy is actually in the balloon. First of all, y'all know how gravity works. Still the same society that's trying to convince us that the little white girl, little white baby that was in the back seat of our parents' car in the car seat, parents try to convince us that the initial report, they initially reported her as kidnapped in the car, was stolen, when in all actuality, the car was at the bottom of a hill at the end of their street the entire time. Just saying. You mean to tell me you looked everywhere else in the interim except the bottom of the hill where the car was? Just saying. Something ain't clean in the buttermilk. But don't say that I didn't tell y'all. And you can't be mad that I'm telling you what we both were thinking. Like, I don't really mind white people business. I really don't mind other black people business. Because a lot of weirdos out here. Like, it's at a point right now to where even breathing outside is dangerous. And I just stay to my own devices. Like, y'all really trying to get over on us. And then, like, the story, this was recent, where they try to convince us that the teenage boy who had been reported missing 8 or 9 years ago, like, that was a legit case, just came out the blue. And in hours of them telling us that, turned out the mother was holding him in her bedroom the whole time. And was doing all kind of things with him. Come on now. Like, the shit that they do out here for attention. Look, I don't make the news, I just report it. And, it's definitely possible for me to say all that I've said between this and the previous part and still be, I guess, compassionate and hope for the best like the rest of y'all. It'll be interesting, though, the next couple of days or the next 24 to 48 hours, what all Carlee will reveal or say. Because the turning point in any kind of situation, any kind of story or experience with the possibility of a crime that occurred or people reporting a crime is what all y'all say when y'all get down to that police station. You gotta think about it. Carlee could get down to that police station and after like a few hours, hell, they'll probably not even wait until she's well enough to be released from the hospital to ask her questions. Like, for it to be true, the story has to be consistent and to make sense. I don't know. Like, she could probably say some shit and trip herself up. That's definitely possible. Because the cops are going to be like, well, what did the dude look like? And what did the baby look like? What did the baby have on? And where were you going? And what was the guy like? And, all that other stuff. Because they're really going to want to try to piece together what happened after that phone call you made. I watched enough First 48 to know. And then, at some point, if the shit is actually true and legit, there'll be less questions as they get going on this investigation. Just saying. I've seen this shit play out. Like, everybody hops on the exciting part and the provocative part. But the truth will come out and we'll see. Until then, I'm Mr. Fox, the I Refuse podcast. Thank you for joining me on the YouTube channel. I already gave y'all the podcast free promo to where you can check us out on the streaming side of things. 4 seasons of the I Refuse podcast. Available through Apple Podcasts, through Spotify, Overcast, iHeartRadio, and like 4 or 5 other streaming platforms. Also, follow, subscribe, and show love to the Twitter at I Refuse Podcast. That's all one word. We have an Instagram at I Refuse Podcast _ between the words. I've been getting a lot of love and a lot of love on my last video regarding the Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott and how y'all won't let that man have a baby or live his life as the mayor of Baltimore. Like, y'all really got up in the comment section of his IG story announcing that him and his girlfriend are having a baby. To tell that man, this motherfucker out here clapping cheeks while this motherfucker's bleeding in the streets. It's like, good grief. But that's not even the part that took me out. A lot of people were surprised that he had a girlfriend because a lot of people said that he was gay. I didn't say that. That was told to me. But what tripped me out, and you have to watch the video. It's called King of the Hill on my YouTube page to figure out what the hell I was talking about or what really took me out. Anyway, continue to show love. I love having the YouTube channel. I love having the podcast. I started the podcast at the very beginning of the pandemic. I was like, shit, I ain't going nowhere and I got shit to say. And I get on that podcast, I get on the mic every week talking to you like it's just you and me about some shit that just does not make sense that's going on, what I was raised to believe, what I believe in, and what makes none of this shit that's happening right. And we talk about all kinds of stuff on the podcast. Not just gay stuff and bi stuff and culture and society and misogyny and stuff like that. We talk about sexism, racism. We talk about books we're reading, movies we've been watching. We have 2 other podcasts, The Usual Suspects and the I Refuse podcast After Dark. That's on the streaming side. And we out here, so stay hydrated, stay cool. Jesus is still out here preheating the earth at 400 degrees. And try not to hurt nobody. And we will catch you guys later. Peace.